Hey, and welcome back to the podcast. We are here with Gary Geiman, who is a serial entrepreneur and a business owner. His website is DMN8partners.com. And Gary owns and operates DMN8 Partners, which is a digital marketing and consulting company that helps business owners dominate their competition and market. So, Gary, glad to be talking to you.
Thanks for having me, man. Looking forward to this.
Same. So what is on your mind these days? The past 6 or 12 months, what is the hot subject? What do business owners need and what do you provide to them?
Well, what business owners need and what we provide sometimes are two different things. I mean, obviously, our sector in the business world is growth related, getting more leads, making more money, that type of thing. But sometimes the money problem isn't their problem. It's related to either systems in their business or even systems related to their people. And, what we typically do when we're trying to help other businesses, we look inside first and see like where our shortcomings are related and like how do we fix them, go about fixing them, and then help other companies fix them. Like, running the Google ads, getting Google Maps, local SEO, and having a website that converts, like that's the technical piece, but you're always dealing with people, right? And when you're dealing with people, that human sector piece is what you have to keep in mind. And I think when you make that the priority, when people are the priority, then you're going to begin to see business as or see your business as being successful. So what do I mean by that, right? First of all, customers and employees or your team is where the focus should be, not necessarily, oh, I have to make more money with my business. Now, obviously, we all want to make money, but we have to figure out how to do it in a way that impacts your customer and the customer journey and their experience. And then how to do it and get your team involved and have the team be the one that's running for the goal line, not just you, and they're following you, right? So one of my biggest takeaways for the last 6 to 12 months, like you talked about, is creating a business that is a business. So what do I mean by that? A lot of people own jobs, right? You create this environment, this entity, and if you're not plugged into it, then it doesn't exist, or it doesn't perpetuate, or it doesn't grow. And, my wife has these conversations with me almost every other month. And 2019, 2020, and then when COVID hit, like she was really focused on it. And that is, what happens if I get hit by the bus, right? And the bus can be all kinds of things. And in your business, regardless of what business you're in, if you own a business, you don't have to worry about what happens if you get hit by the bus, right? Let's look at Chick-fil-A. Guy owns a Chick-fil-A on the street corner, right? And if he doesn't come into work today, the guy that owns the place, that cuts the check, people are still going to show up. They're still going to get chicken. They're still going to get the waffle fries, right? They're still going to get served. Is your business the same, right? If you're a solopreneur, it's tough. That's tough. But if you have a team, and I'll take a step back. Even if you're a solopreneur, you can utilize automation, virtual assistants, software, things like that to help bridge the gap. But as a solopreneur, like you either are, that's what you want to do. I don't want to work for anybody else. I want to work for myself, and that's totally fine. But if you're outside of that solopreneur and you have some team members and you call it your business, take a step back and see, is it a business or is it a job, right? There's nothing wrong with owning a job, but what is it that you want it to perpetuate? So I'm 50 years old. I just turned 50 back October. And this has been like a big year of reflection for me in terms of what it is my goals are related to legacy and being able to impact others. What are those goals, right? And it comes down to I want to impact as many people as possible so they can impact the people around them. Like, I'm not going to impact millions and millions of people, right? But if I impact 1,000 people and they're impacting 10, 15, 20 people each, and they're impacting 5 or 10 each, like we can get to 1 million. But I have to impact that group of mine first. And how do I do that? So the way we do that is I always say every day when I wake up, look at my wife. She's usually downstairs, so I got to walk downstairs, get coffee. She beats me up. Let's change some lives today, right? So what's that mean? What's mean? Let's change some lives today. Be value in someone else's life that they don't necessarily have that day. So like Thanksgiving, we have blended families. We already had our Thanksgiving with all of our families. So one thing that we like to do, there are like 2 or 3 restaurants, like no matter what, they're open all the time. And we go there. And why do we go there? People are going to say, oh, you're ruining their Thanksgiving. No, what I do is I tip them very large. Number one, to be thankful that they're there so we could actually go out and eat on Thanksgiving. But number two, to give them something that changes their life that day. And we're not talking, a $20 tip. I'm talking, it's a large tip. Why do we do that? Because we want to make an impact on somebody else so they can see to make an impact on someone else. And then that chain continues. The other thing we do, we both, my wife and I both had instances where we could have easily been orphans, young ages. And so we look for places to put lots of resources, especially around the holidays, but throughout the year. For instance, there's the children's home, and every July they have this Amazon wish list. And for the last 2 or 3 years, I just go and I pick off everything and have it sent to them. One year it was books, like 100 books they wanted. So my wife goes on our Amazon account. She sees I ordered all these 100 books. Like, when are you planning to read all of these? Now we're sending them to the orphanage, right? Trying to impact people's lives. Our names are maybe attached to the package, and that's it. We're not trying to get glory or any type of salute over it. Just trying to impact someone's life positively. Because look, I had people all throughout my life. I can tell you a story through, middle school, high school, even after high school, of people that just impacted my life by small things that they did for me. So we want to do the same thing. So looking at your business, how are you impacting their life? What are you doing to bring them along? So go back to where I started. This year was about me being able to count on other people on our team to do what we needed them to do. So how do we do that? Well, created a very clear mission. So instead of having an ambiguous mission statement, like we want to be the best at whatever we do, right? Our mission statement is we want to help other business owners achieve their version of success. Their version and my version are 2 different things. Some people say success is having a lot of money in the bank. Some people say success is being able to do whatever you want, whenever you want. That just happens to be me. And other people can say success looks another way. We find out what their version of success is, and then we help them go achieve it with the things that we do, right? And then we have 4 core values that we live by, and everybody operates under within our company. Now, a lot of people think core values, and they're like, okay, honesty, integrity, like, that kind of stuff. No, those aren't core values. Those are givens. Like, you should be doing business based upon integrity, based upon those things without even thinking about it, right? So our core values are pretty simple. We have 4 of them. And I always tell people, when you develop core values, have a short number so they can be impactful and remembered. Our 4 core values are: we make digital easy. So whatever we can do to make it uncomplicated to do business with us and for our customers to get results, that's what we do. We make it easy. If you think about Staples and the easy button, that's what Dominate Partners tries to be. Easy for our customers. We respond same day. And actually internally, our goal is to respond within the hour. We get an email, chat support, phone call. We're acknowledging the communication. Doesn't mean we're solving the problem within an hour. It means we're acknowledging the communication. Number 3, we solve problems. A lot of businesses, they like to identify the problem and let the customer know who caused that problem, right? Or how the problem was caused. Now, we don't care about the cause at least in our communication, what we care about is solving it. Then once it's solved, then we look and we go, okay, how do we keep this problem from happening again? But the ideal of a problem is to solve it. And of course, the more problems you can solve and the more difficult problems you can solve relates directly to how much money you can make. And then the foundational core value of our company is production over perfection. I believe that speed and speed of use in terms of services and products is what should be top of mind for most businesses. A lot of businesses like to promote, price or product. They have the greatest product or the greatest service, blah, blah, blah. Look, those are things that can be beat by anyone. It's what is the experience that you're delivering for your customer? And so in your core values, how does that relate and how do you get your team behind it? So we have weekly meetings, sometimes, multiple meetings a week. We talk about core values and mission statement. I want my team not only to know them, but to be operating in them. I remember when I knew that our core values were hitting, it was about 6 months ago, someone in our Slack channel said, hey, somebody responded 50 minutes ago. We need to get a response out, or somebody sent a question 50 minutes ago. We need to get a response out in the next 10 minutes. Like I knew it was there. So then we tested the theory of, does Gary have to be sitting at this chair in this office for this company to maintain and to grow? So we tested it. So my wife and I, for our birthdays, my birthday is October 1st, hers is November 15th. We did a 2-week trip to Europe, part cruise, part walking around Rome, and she called it eating and drinking our way through Italy. And had very limited communication with our team. I'm responsible for 100% of our sales. I did no sales while I was gone. Literally left it in the hands of our people. And we grew in revenue month over from September to October by 22%. I came back in the place, the key on the lock still worked. I was able to still come in. We still had everything working. We tested it. It worked. And in fact, me being gone and removed has seen one of our employees elevate his performance and what it is that he does for others inside our company, not just performing at a higher level, but helping others perform at a higher level. It was one of the greatest things that's ever happened. So what do businesses need and what do we offer? What businesses need is they need to understand that everything they're doing is for people. Who are those people and how are they impacting them? And then understanding that the better they impact those people, the more money they're going to make. If you tie it to improvement and others, the money will follow. I was taught 6 years ago, right at the time when I was starting this company, put value out into the universe. If you put enough value out into the universe, it will come back. You just have to be consistent with the value you're putting out into the universe. So I would ask you in your business, what value are you putting into your customers? What value are you putting into your team? And is that value what they need, right? We get in our head what we think they need, but what is it that they need? And when you identify that and you understand that and you get really intentional with it, that's when you have growth. And that's when you create a company that sustains without the owner, which in my mind, when you go into business, that's kind of the idea. You want to have freedom. You want to have the ability to do the things that you want to do when you want to do them. And in achieving that, then you can start impacting other people. And that's where, to me, my success lies and where I want to get to. So I know it was a long answer, but that's it, man.
Well, long answers are good, right? It gives us lots to chew on and gives us an idea of getting to know you in this short time window. And I'm just keeping it straight in my head, 8 different ideas and how they're all linked together. And I mean, I love your energy and I love your philosophy of how it's easy to go off track, right? You get into business with the best of intentions, and it's easy to get hung up on the details, thinking you need to do it yourself, making bad decisions, not trusting people, being disorganized, not having a system. And I think it ultimately boils down to not thinking through some of these big ideas that you're mentioning, right? These ideas like, well, can I trust these people on my team to do more? These ideas like, well, what is the customer experience, and how can our mission statement as such differentiate from the usual cliches and do things like this 1 hour response time, and just kind of like going back and kind of being in that cycle of being like, well, how can I revisit and how can I improve this system? And then also there's a component there of like your own motivation and this kind of growth mindset of being like, well, money's great and the numbers and the KPIs and all that's fine, but then what's the bigger picture? What's it leading to? Who am I helping? So that way I can further motivate myself into kind of sometimes doing the things I don't always want to do in the moment, right? Or sometimes putting in the hard work or the hard hours now, so that way I can take that Italy vacation later. So there's a heck of a lot to think about. And I know that you're in all of these niches like roofing and HVAC and plumbing. And I love the HVAC marketing guys because they're just like you, like they're so like aggressive in a good way. They're so dialed in, and they work harder than anyone else you've ever seen. So in these last few minutes here, I want to make you and your agency Dominate look really good. And stories are always a great way to do that. So you have a story handy of one of these clients where you jumped in and you applied your secret sauce and really multiply their business. Anything come to mind?
My favorite story is a guy. It was 2018. It was 2 days after Christmas, December 27th. I usually remember bad things that happen. Like that's how my brain is wired. But this story is one of the best. And I like at the time didn't know the story, because if he would have told me the story of where he was at that day, I would have not let him hire us, because he didn't have any capital. He had $2,000 left to his name. He had just been laid off from a job that he had that really helped him kind of start his business. It was just him. He had, his van, his equipment, but it was just him. And he wasn't really good at customer acquisition, a lot of word of mouth. And he'd been laid off in October, and he had these 2 months where he thought, I'm going to go hard. And it just didn't play out for him. He reached out through my Facebook page and sent me a message, wanted to know if we could talk. I set up a time to talk with him. We talked on the 27th of December. We had about a 30-minute conversation. I told him some simple things to do, which is what I typically tell people when we're having a conversation. Like, here's what I would do right now to try to generate revenue. Things like touch your customer base, talk to realtors, just make some network with other contractors that have customers like you but aren't competitors. Like just simple things, right? Do this activity and you're going to begin to see some stuff come your way. And he was like, how many leads do you I remember this question, how many leads do you think you can get me in January with Google Ads on $1,000 spend? And I was like, new ad account, because he had never ran Google Ads. So we're starting up a new ad account. The website was newer. So he had some, optimization and learning with Google. And I was like, typically you're going to see somewhere low end 15, 20 leads, maybe high end 30, 40. He was like, 10 leads would make it happen for me, because I will sell every one of them, which is what everybody always tells you, right? I'm going to sell every one of those leads. I was like, well, Tim, that's not how it happens. But yeah, I mean, you should get that no matter what, but definitely shoot for the high end. So 6 months later, we're at an event. I'm speaking at the event, and he comes up to me. I'd never met him in person before. He comes up to me. He's like, hey, man. He says his name. Oh, great. Nice to meet you. My wife was there. He's talking to my wife. And he's like, I want to tell you a story. He's like, when I talked to you on December 27th, I had $2,000 left on my name. I hired you, which at the time, our fees to do everything that he wanted to do was like $1,500 a month. So he had $500 left, and he knew, like, if he ran Google Ads, he was going to have to sell somebody and collect money to pay for those ads at the budget he was at. He was like, I literally had no money left. And he said, I went all in on you because you told me that people are what matters to you. And I figured if you're telling the truth, then we're in. And if you're full of crap, that I'm losing no matter what. So here we are. First Google ad he got was a $5,000 job. He converted it. Second, he ended up doing $25,000 that month, right? And he had a profit percentage, he said somewhere of 60%. It was just him. And I remember February and March, like him just being a lot more animated and communicating with me than he had been in that first month of January. Obviously, because he was focused on selling, collecting, and completing jobs to get that money. And we ended up taking him from his start then. And this year, 2022, I had a conversation with him. He's got a couple crews. He's at that level of where he's over 7 figures. He's created a business, not a job. And you know, he's somebody that I look up to, because somebody taking a chance like that on themselves, to me, there's no other greater way to tell a story. And yeah, what did we do? We ran some Google ads and we made it happen. But this guy believed in himself and he gave us an opportunity to provide that back to him. We did our job and he did what he needed to do to grow his company and to feed his family. Because, oh, by the way, he had 4 kids. And to feed his family so that he could achieve his level of success. His level of success, he tells me, is spending as much time with his kids as possible, taking them on as much, adventures as he can as possible. And we got to be a part of that. So what did Dominate Partners do? Look, we listened to him, we figured out what he needed, and we ran with that. There's multiple ways we can do that. Look, we can do things with search, talked about. We can do things with social and custom audiences. My favorite thing to do in home service spaces that you mentioned is to go find upper middle class homeowner data. So we can grab name, address, cell phone, email, and 10, 20,000 number of audience, load it into Facebook, but also do email. Send out handwritten mail, which is great. Have that do an email sequence. So you have 2 or 3 emails. We have a handwritten mail. We have a Facebook ad. We have a Google display ad. So they are seeing your company brand everywhere. And doing that consistently and constantly to help generate customers for you. The next thing that I like to do is take your jobs, the neighbors that you've done jobs for, pull data on them and do the same thing. Hey, we completed a job in your neighborhood, blah, 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 blah. Hitting those 2 types of marketing can help grow your, business and down to the street level, down to the neighborhood level. And I don't know about you, we exited a home service business in 2018, which is where I learned a lot of this stuff in terms of, building a business that you don't have to be a part of and developing your people. I learned because of that exit. I don't know about you, but where the money is in neighborhoods, that's where my company wanted to be all the time. Like I wanted to be able to go to the same neighborhood and provide service to those neighborhoods. So we help companies get really dialed in on that. Obviously, search is important. We have some automation and software that we built around boosting local rankings. Google Ads is a great way to lever up and lever down. Social media and reels are a great way to build engagement and awareness. But those homeowner targeting and neighborhood targeting, to me, are the ways that you set your business apart from your competitors.
Well, this is great. And you've given us a lot to think about and a lot of these important reminders. And we've been revisiting this idea of how important the people are. And when you think like, oh, I have to do all these things, I have to write the letters and the phone rings, or I have to make the email sequence. But if you think that, there's some stuck business owner out there who needs more Google ads for their dental practice, or some roofer who needs more jobs, or all these other things, it's like there are people out there who are stuck without the service that your business provides. And then there are those there's employees or the members of your team who need more responsibilities, or who need the employment of being a part of you and your business. And those are great motivators and great things to think about, especially with you and your problem solver mindset, because you mentioned things like this attitude of saying, well, what's the low hanging fruit, right? Let me go back to my old customers and just have some of these conversations. And so few people remember to do that. Or even that advice that you said you gave where you said, well, just do these handful of things, right? And just get started and just get some sales and just get some leads coming in. And then you can go from that to kind of the next stage of like ramping up. And then from there, you can imagine there's the next stage of then like further systematizing and removing yourself from your business. But it's like, just get started and just take some action. And it's really inspiring and motivating. And so if someone is kind of progressing through those stages of awareness, they started off listening to this podcast, they said, let me just kind of see if this interests me. Then they said, let me see if I can get a handful of ideas. But now if they're in the stage where they say, I want to look more into Gary and Dominate Partners and his company, how does a listener of this podcast episode know if they're an ideal client for you, and where should they go and what should they do?
Yeah. So, I mean, our clients are typically service business owners. We don't really deal in the e-com space. That's not our that's not our sweet spot or bread and butter. And there's a lot of companies out there that are much better at that than us. So service, and we even dial that down even more. If you're a home service business owner, like that's our sweet spot. That's where we knock it out of the park. You can find me either on Facebook, facebook.com/my name, Gary Geiman, or you mentioned the website, DMN8partners.com, dominatepartners.com. You can send us a message, chat, whatever. And we can take a look at what your business needs and how we can help them. But you mentioned, customers and customer communication. Like the majority of businesses do not communicate enough with their customers. We have this conversation all the time with people. Do you communicate consistently with your customers? Yes. How many times in the last month have you emailed them? None. Like you should be emailing your customer at least monthly, if not twice a month. You should have some type of phone call set up in a system to where somebody from your office is calling them quarterly. You should be sending them mail quarterly, because if you're not reminding them what you do, then they're going to go look for your services and find your competitor. So keep that in mind. You need to consistently remind your customers what it is you do and how you can help them, not just for repeat business, but for referral business. And if you win that game, then the other things are just add-ons. Customer marketing can generate a lot of revenue for a company if it's done consistently and continuously.
I love it. Well, great advice. And, it drives me crazy when you hear these business owners say, well, I don't want to market too much. It's like, no, like when you think of all those times when you almost bought something and you looked into some kind of solution to your problem, there were so many businesses that fell through the cracks, and we're all used to, ignoring the pieces in the mail or ignoring the emails or any of that. So if people want to opt out, they know how to do that. And yeah, that's a good message, is contact your list at least once a month. So few people do that. So if you out there in podcast land, if you were impressed and excited by what Gary Geiman has to say, then your very next step is to go to DMN8partners.com, and we will see you there. And Gary, as we wrap up our conversation, if people go over to DMN8partners.com, do you have any final parting words of advice? Is there something that you wish you knew 30 years ago? Anything that we can compact into a sentence or two to really end in a strong sort of soundbite? Anything come to mind?
Yeah, biggest thing is awareness. People think that because you post something on Facebook, everybody sees it, and that's not the case. 3 to 5% of your audience sees it. So you want to make people aware of you and your business. Post on social media multiple times daily. Use video as much as possible, but be consistent. Do it continuously, and people will begin to know you. It's the billboard of the 2022, and if you're not doing it continuously and consistently, you're leaving people out in the dark about what you do.
And that's exactly what you're doing here, right? You could easily just be sitting in your office and not communicating, but you're on a podcast. We're making a video. We're going to put it on social media so that way you get the word out. And there is a lot of repetition involved, but that's okay because there's that fear of obscurity. So that's why you're here. So Gary Geiman, DMN8partners.com. We'll see you there. And thank you, Gary, for being a light in the tunnel, as they say, I guess, and giving us that motivation and excitement to succeed. So thank you for showing up, and thank you very much.
Thank you, man.